G'day there guys, it's Connie here again from Marky Industries, Mustache Less, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okie dokie, we're on True Off My Chest. This one was written by user Dandelion Plant, and it's titled, I ruined my parents' relationship over reading mail. I, 24 female, don't want to say what I do for work, but let's just say it's the type of job that includes a lot of written letters from clients that are supposed to be confidential and only for my eyes. I'm fresh out of college and living with my parents, so I can finish paying off for school. My work letters of course go to my parents' address since they live miles away from a post office, and driving to a post office box is a huge pain. The issue started with my father. Ever since high school, when I received mail, my dad would open it. Whenever I received Christmas and birthday cards in the mail with money in them, my dad would hand me the card and insist he'll keep the money safe for me until I demanded he hand it over. Any package I would order for myself, he would open and hand to me. Sometimes the products were used by him as well. The final straw was when he received my acceptance letter to my dream college, and instead of waiting for me to come home to open it, he opened it himself and called me while I was at work to congratulate me. I've spoken to my mother about how much this makes me feel uncomfortable, and she told me she'd speak to my father about it, to which he would apologize and not do it for a week before doing it again the next week. I had also spoken to my dad about the confidentiality of the mail I would be receiving now that I'm working, and he says he understands, but it all came crashing down a few weeks ago. While I was working, my dad came into my room and handed me opened envelopes from my clients and even tried to have a conversation about it with me, but I just ignored him until he got the hint and left. After work, I yelled at him for violating client confidentiality, to which he got defensive and said that I live in his house, and any mail sent to his house would be read by him. Furious, that next week I thought I would take revenge on my father by going to the mailbox and reading his mail. But what I found was what ended my relationship with him. I had found credit card statements on jewelry and restaurants that were too fancy for my dad to go to alone, and I don't remember the last time my dad took my mum on a date nor bought her any jewelry. I also found a letter addressed to my dad from a woman who stated how tired she was for hiding this relationship for so long, and how she is so desperate for his letters to reach her. When my dad noticed the mailbox was empty, my dad ran back in the house, as white as a ghost. He walked into the kitchen to see me and my mum in the kitchen reading his mail. Before the fighting could start, my mum asked me to leave the house, so I drove to my aunt who lives 45 minutes away and explained everything. I came back after 2 days when my dad's stuff was gone. My mum told me my dad's living in a hotel and she'll be in contact with a divorce attorney. Turns out, my dad has been having an affair with a family friend, and were hiding it through letters to leave no digital footprint. My dad ended up showing my mum the stash of letters he had, and she took photos of each and every single letter before she asked him to leave. I feel at fault because I at first wanted to be petty with my dad, but it unraveled into this huge event and made me think, no wonder he's been looking through my crap, he was giving himself away. I feel like I shattered my mum's world, since I can hear her cry every night about it since the incident. Wow, that's rough. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the dad's fault. Opie is not to blame for this. He was the one having the affair. Stupid games, stupid prizes, and all of that. Let's go to the comments. You didn't ruin your parents' relationship. Your dad having an affair ruined it. You just found out about it and gave your mum the chance to make an informed decision with all the facts on whether she wanted to be in a marriage with a cheater. Nope, your dad is the guilty party here. In the US, it's illegal to open other people's mail. It's unethical to read, let alone discuss, confidential information, especially when it's not even your job. Finally, your dad was cheating on your mum and clearly not giving her the attention and respect she deserves. He made the mess. You simply tripped over it. I'm sorry you're going through this, OP. It must be hard. Don't feel like it's your fault. You didn't ruin your parents' relationship. Your dad ruined it the moment he decided to have an affair. His insane mail rule wasn't about invading your privacy. That was a bonus for him. It was about covering his ass for as long as possible. He did it to himself. Your father was having a long-term affair. He and his affair partner were exchanging letters. Your father was opening your mail to make sure the affair partner did not send something to you or your mum. No question in my mind. This is 100% him covering his ass. You did nothing wrong. You were not to blame. You did not ruin your parents' marriage. Yeah, pretty unanimous there. Let's go to an update. Thank you all so much. I wrote this all out last night, drunk off my mind, and I never expected this much kindness from strangers. I'll go ahead and answer a few questions here and then give an update. 1. Was my dad using my money from the gifts to buy stuff for his mistress? I'm 50-50 on this answer. I received cards when I was young with money, and it was the same routine. Aunts and uncles would leave $100 per card, and my dad always gave them to me when I was younger. As I got older, obviously the money reduced to $20 or $40. I do believe my dad would give me back half my money in those cards, which would make sense as to how he was able to make such huge expenses on his mistress. I need to collect proper evidence, so I plan on calling my aunts and uncles and other relatives who would send me money. 2. The mistress would send letters addressed as a business or a credit card company. If you ask me, they were doing the most. When my mum would check the mail, she would see the letters that were addressed to my dad as bills or some crazy BS and never opened them because she doesn't handle the bills. A lot of packages were sent by the mistress as well, which is why he went through my packages, and I don't want to imagine what kind of crap she was mailing him. Now for the update. Like I said before, it's been a few weeks since it happened. I've been doing my best to comfort my mother while she deals with all the legal business and my dad's constant appeals to my mum to apologise and begged for forgiveness. I've been an ear to listen to her, and she keeps spiralling between wanting to forgive him and cursing him to hell. I told her my own personal opinion, which was to never take back a cheater. She did basically everything for him, and she shouldn't see it as her not being enough for him. That's his fault for not appreciating her. The mistress also was a married woman. My mum reached out to her husband, sending him the letters she had taken photos of, even had a long phone call with him about what was going on. He initiated the divorce, and the mistress is now angry at my father for not being more careful. The mistress's ex-husband, who I'll call Henry, has been a best friend of my mum's throughout the legal cases. I hear the mistress is still reaching out to forgive him, which I honestly think is very funny, since my dad is doing the same thing. She was financially dependent on Henry, and my dad isn't making enough at his job to support the lifestyle she wants. Yesterday, Henry asked my mum to come out to lunch with him. They've been sad shut-ins for the past few days, and they agreed to go and get some fresh air. I encouraged my mum to do such, and to call me if my dad or the mistress decide to show face when they went, just so I could pick her up. My dad hasn't apologised to me at all about reading my mail. In fact, he's called me and left me voicemails telling me that this whole situation was my fault, then going and crying saying he regrets everything and he hopes he can still be my dad. I honestly don't know what to do with him right now other than ignore him. I don't know if there'll be another update, but I will if something major happens. Again, thank you so much for the supportive comments, and I hope some of what I said clears things up for you all. And there is another update, the final one. Hi guys, it's been a full year since it happened, and I wanted to update you guys. A few months after the post, my mum grabbed me and my younger sister, 20, Rachel, to talk about her interest in possibly going on a date with Henry. Obviously we were thrilled. They've been dating for almost a year now, and I'm happy for them. Henry treats my mother with way more respect than what my father ever did for her. She glows with joy whenever he's around. Our biological father was putting more mental strain on her than we thought. She went from being a shy, soft-spoken person to a strong, confident woman, and I couldn't be happier. As for our father, Jerry, and his mistress, Martha, they got married immediately after my mother, I'll call her Reagan, and Henry. I didn't speak to Jerry other than the occasional text from him asking about how I was doing, or to ask me for some cash. After they got married, neither of their families supported the marriage. They got black-sheeped respectively. They tried to sue for cash, but the case fell through, in Mum and Henry's favour. I stopped talking to him fully when he spent a month harassing my sister for cash, calling her repeatedly, texting her, showing up at her college, to the point where the dean had to get him escorted off the campus. That's when Mum got us a harassment protection order. So now Jerry can only contact us when he wanted to meet with us, which was rare, or for medical emergencies. My sister and I haven't heard from him since. That didn't stop Martha though. Turns out the reason my dad was handing for cash was because he got her pregnant. She wants expensive everything, and Jerry is pulling everything out of his butt to satisfy her. Martha ended up being the one harassing my sister until she ended up at our door demanding to speak to Henry about how he left a poor pregnant lady with nothing. Henry is a man that takes no bullcrap. He opened the door, looked Martha dead in the eyes and told her, "Was it not cruel to cheat on your husband when he provided you with a mansion, designer bags, nice cars, trips, and all the love in the world? You have no right to call me cruel after everything you've used me for, and you're lucky I didn't demand any money back." He shut the door, and Martha ended up throwing a huge fit, even faked her water breaking with a water bottle. Police escorted her to the hospital, and luckily, we were able to show them everything through our Ring doorbell. Thank you everyone for your support in my story. I hope none of you guys have to go through this mess like me. Alrighty folks, and that's the end of that story. Geez, the dad and the affair partner really turned out to be real pieces of work, didn't they? Doesn't sound like they're doing too well for themselves at the moment though. I guess karma does exist. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts about that one? Let me know down below. Otherwise, we're moving on to another story. Alrighty, this next one was posted on Am I the A-Hole? It was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the A-Hole for installing a keylogger on my son's computer? I'm a single dad, 43 years old, computer programmer. My son, let's call him Jack, is 17 years old. Jack's mum died when he was 10, but thankfully we both handled our grief together quite well. When Jack got his first laptop 5 years ago, I took my time explaining how the internet worked, the dangers, etc. I allowed him to create a social media account, as long as he allowed me to check on it whenever I wanted, which was a privilege I made use of a few times until he turned 15, and I realized I could trust him, having never asked for it since then. He allowed me to know where he stored his account passwords just in case, but I never really looked for them, so his social media and computer activity have been a complete mystery to me in the last couple of years. However, I was always fearful he would try to hide something or get into something dangerous, so I installed a keylogger just in case, always thinking about his safety. I never had to use it, and the more I watched him grow up, I eventually realized I would never really use it, but I never bothered to remove it. My sister and I were talking about this in a casual conversation regarding privacy and privacy apps, and my niece overheard us. They were born the same year. She got offended I would do such a thing, claiming it was a horrible invasion of Jack's privacy, and that I should be ashamed, and the only reason she hasn't told my son was because my sister told her she'd grant her for meddling in my parenting. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for having installed a keylogger even though I never had to use it? In my opinion, nah, he doesn't sound overly controlling, and he didn't have any intention to use it in the first place. Maybe he should uninstall it, but yeah, not the a-hole for me. Let's go to the comments. You're the a-hole, no different than a mum threatening to read her teenage girl's diary. Your child is almost an adult now, so there's no need to threaten invasion of his privacy. This is a violation of trust between you and your son. Even if you don't use the keylogger, it's still hanging over his head for you to use against him. One commenter replies, I don't understand your comment. He installed it when his son was 12. The internet is full of creeps, so of course as a parent, you should monitor what is going on during the use. The only fault I see, and that's what you said also, is that he should have taken it out when he became more mature. Also, he stated that he never used it and the son isn't aware, so it isn't like he's actually threatening to breach his privacy. He should definitely take it out ASAP though. No a-holes here, but you would be the a-hole if you didn't talk to your son ASAP and install it. Info, did you install the keylogger when he was 11? If you installed it back then, not the a-hole, tell your son and uninstall it. You were doing it for his safety. The number of abductions due to predators on the internet is scary enough, and most parents don't know anything or have a way to look for info. If you did it much more recently, you're the a-hole. Definitely tell your son, apologize and uninstalled it. Opie replies, I installed it when he was 12, yes. I honestly never removed it because recently I'd kind of forgotten about it until this conversation with my sister, and since he's getting a new laptop in a few weeks anyway, I don't want to bother with it. Since you put it on there when he was 12 and you don't use it, not the a-hole. Your niece may well decide it's worth the risk and tell him anyway, which could get really ugly. So tell your son the truth. You put it on there when he was 12, you don't use it, but you never got around to uninstalling it. Apologize for that. Offer him a choice. You can uninstall it, he can uninstall it, or he can leave it there since he's getting a new laptop anyway. If there's a way for him to confirm the last time the program was accessed, tell him how. This is the key part. Teach him how to check for spyware, malware, keyloggers, etc. Don't give yourself admin privileges on his new laptop. This is a really good chance for you to model how to maturely apologize and make amends. Yeah, some good advice there. Opie makes an update, almost a month later. So this blew up. I read all the comments and I really appreciate the insight on both sides, which I will not comment nor give my opinion on, since a verdict is a verdict. Each person is entitled to their own opinion, but I want you to know that I took into consideration all of them, even with the majority considering me an a-hole. It took me 2 days of pondering, especially with the threat of my niece telling Jack everything, before I sat him down and talked to him. I came out clean, told him about the keylogger, then explained to him what it did, why I did it, and how it worked. Jack believed me when I told him I'd never looked at anything. We both shared a laugh when he told me he believed me because A, I'm a complete airhead, so it's perfectly believable I forgot about the keylogger for years, and B, he admitted to having watched porn, and he is sure I would have commented on it, because both my sister and I both openly disliked the porn industry. He told me he isn't mad at me, that he's glad I told him about it now instead of, say, 20 years from now, and that he would have done the same thing in my situation, keylogger and everything. I showed him how to remove it and how to look for it in further devices, and we had a look at a few laptops together. I ended up buying him a new one and helped him set it up. Yes, no keyloggers. He let me know the password he used in case it was necessary. Regarding my niece, she didn't tell him anything, but my sister and I had a conversation with them at the time over dinner. My niece used the same argument as many of you did, with it being the same as reading a diary, and it was one that both my sister and I agreed with. My sister was admittedly much stricter with her daughter than I was with my son, since she checked her texts and Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp messages, but she admitted it was because of her massive fear that everything that is uploaded to the internet lasts forever, and she was afraid of things like nudes being leaked, undesired contact with bad people, cyberbullying, or any possible hurtful things. They ended up agreeing to disagreeing, and my sister promised to start trusting my niece more with these things, since she knows she won't be able to do anything about it once she turns 18. I want to thank you all for the feedback and for your suggestions over how I should handle this, even the ones who called me an a-hole. I felt like I owed you this update. And some final comments. I love that he taught him how to look for it and remove it in further devices. It seems like he's teaching internet safety well. There's definitely a reason the son trusted him and didn't care. Lol, he gets it. Yep, my parents were like the sister and obsessively monitored everything. They'd read every text, had software installed that alerted them to any potentially inappropriate web activity, forbid me from having social media, etc., etc. The result was that I learned how to bypass everything, and what couldn't be bypassed led me to having secret accounts and devices just so I didn't feel like I was in a joyless prison, forbid from making a single mistake during my formative years. They made me into a very skilled liar, and I hate it. I wish I had parents that I could have trusted and had conversations with like this kid, but I was just a set of unmet expectations to them. Jesus H. Christ, a problem solved with some rational thinking. Very un-Reddit. As a teenager, I would have felt extremely violated, but seeing the way the internet is now, I understand it. I think the internet is not a safe place for children and teens. I was beyond pissed when my mum tracked my location constantly when I was out and about. As an adult, I can acknowledge that I can remember at least 5 times my friends wanted to explore abandoned buildings at night that I still went with. If something extremely predictable ever happened to me, then I would have at least been able to have been found. As someone who was a victim of online grooming, I totally get where Opie is coming from, especially as I spend a lot of time online and witness more and more minors freely giving out their private information in cards and pinned posts. Edit, forgot to say that I'm not saying a keylogger is the right thing to do, just that I get it. Also, parents, please teach your kids online safety. Yeah, absolutely. And ironically enough, I feel like my generation, who grew up with the internet, are probably going to be stricter on their kids because we know how messed up it is sometimes. So I'm like these comments, I can totally understand where Opie's coming from. What about you guys? I'd love to hear your thoughts about this below. Mixed opinions, I'm sure. Anyway guys, that's it from me today. Hope you all enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.